Have you ever felt like you're searching for truth in a world just full of conflicting messages? And you're wondering who you can actually trust?
Mm-hmm. Or maybe that feeling of being alone, even when you're technically surrounded by people.
Exactly.
Whew.
Well, today, we're doing a deep dive into some really profound concepts. And yeah, sometimes challenging ones too. We're looking at God's infinite character.
Specifically, his omnipresence and his omniscience. Big words, I know.
Right. We're going to explore what it really means that God is, well, everywhere and knows everything.
And how understanding this stuff can actually bring a lot of comfort and maybe even clarity on, what's reliable in your own life.
Okay, so let's set the scene a bit. Where does this conversation even start in the texts?
Well, we really need to go back to ancient Judah. Think, the prophet Jeremiah's time, it was a period of huge turmoil.
Just before the Babylonian invasion, right?
Precisely. And Jeremiah was dealing with this constant barrage from what the texts call false prophets.
Okay, false prophets. What were they saying that was so different?
They were basically telling people what they wanted to hear: peace, safety, deliverance. Stark contrast to Jeremiah's message.
Which was
much tougher. Judgment, destruction. Imagine the confusion for ordinary people. Who do you believe? It created this real crisis of truth.
Okay, let's unpack that, because our mission today really is to pull insights from these ancient situations that actually mean something for your life right now.
Mm-hmm. How does God's nature, being everywhere, knowing everything, how does that affect who you trust? Or help you understand you're never really alone?
Yeah, this deep dive is all about, hopefully, cutting through some of that noise, getting to what's real, what's reliable.
So Jeremiah's position, it was incredibly tough.
Yeah, you mentioned he was delivering bad news, this whirlwind idea.
Right, not just weather. It was a powerful metaphor for this devastating invasion coming from Babylon. A grievous whirlwind, the text says, heading straight for the wicked. Definitely not a popular message.
I can imagine. So the other prophets were saying the opposite.
Exactly. They promised peace, deliverance, stuff people desperately wanted to believe. It was appealing.
And Jeremiah's main argument against them was pretty bold, wasn't it?
It was radical. He basically said, you guys haven't actually heard from God. Now, for us today, proving that either way sounds impossible.
Right.
But back then, culturally, that was a huge accusation. It struck at the core of their legitimacy. Were they really speaking for God or not?
And then, this is where it gets really interesting, God himself steps in. Why would he need to do that? Defend his reputation? It sounds a little human.
That's a fair question. It's not about insecurity, though. Think about it. God says, I didn't send these prophets, but they ran off anyway. I didn't speak to them, but they prophesied.
Okay.
If their feel-good prophecies led to disaster, which they did, who would people blame?
God, probably.
Yeah.
Claiming he misled them or wasn't powerful enough.
Exactly. God wanted them to know. These guys are speaking without my authority. Their fatal flaw, the sources suggest, was having too small a view of God.
Too small? How so?
They couldn't reconcile a God who is both loving and just, who exercises judgment. Or maybe they couldn't see how even something awful like exile could fit into his bigger plan.
So they kind of projected their own desires onto God?
In a way, yeah. Their own fears might have led them to just invent messages of comfort.
Okay, so Jeremiah claimed he had heard from God, unlike them. He talked about standing in the counsel of the Lord. What exactly was that, this counsel?
Right, that's key. So in the ancient world, prophets were seen as vital. They were the communicators with the divine, crucial for international relations, getting guidance.
Sort of like ambassadors to the gods.
Pretty much. And in many cultures, Greek, Norse, Egyptian, Babylonian, you had these pantheons, lots of gods, sometimes squabbling for power.
Okay.
A prophet was their mouthpiece, their messenger.
So when the Bible talks about the counsel of the Lord, should we picture something like walking into a king's throne room, guards, advisors, the whole deal?
That visual isn't far off. The imagery is similar. A powerful sovereign, advisors, a sense of awe and authority.
But there's a difference.
A fundamental difference. In the biblical view, unlike those pantheons, there's zero question about who's in charge. He's the King of Kings, Lord of Lords.
The Creator.
The Creator. The only uncaused cause. He depends on nothing. So for a human prophet to be invited into that council, that throne room, it was transformative.
It wasn't just getting a message, it was an experience.
Totally. It changed them. It gave their words immense weight and authority. Standing in his council, having that unique relationship that was the foundation for a true message, not just making popular predictions.
Got it. So after dealing with the false prophets, God shifts and asks these direct questions to the people. You said earlier, he's not asking because he needs answers.
Right, they're rhetorical. They're designed to teach, to reveal something about himself.
So what's he revealing here in Jeremiah 23?
He asks, am I a God at hand and not a God afar off? Verse 23.
And the answer is?
It's yes to both. That's the mind-bending part. This reveals his omnipresence.
Okay, break that down. Omnipresence.
It means he's immanent. He's near, right here, involved, but he's also transcendent, far off, existing beyond the universe, beyond our grasp.
So not just near or far, but both simultaneously.
Exactly. He exists everywhere at the same time.
Yeah.
He's not limited to one place, not a temple, not a country, not even a galaxy. He fills heaven and earth.
Fills them how? Like a gas.
No, not physically like that. It's more like he's fully present in his entire being in every single point of his creation all at once. It doesn't diminish him to be everywhere.
Wow. Okay. That means?
It means, as one source put it, we are always standing on holy ground because he is always present.
That really changes things. But he asks another question right after that, doesn't he?
He does. Verse 24, can any hide himself in secret places that I shall not see him?
Another rhetorical one, I assume.
Definitely. Think about playing hide and seek with a toddler who just covers their eyes. It's kind of like that, but infinitely more profound. God always sees.
Because he knows everything.
Everything. Perfect, infinite, simultaneous knowledge of all things. That's omniscience. He sees it all, knows it all. Even, as the Psalms say, the secrets of the heart, our hidden motives. Nothing is hidden.
That's intense.
It is. There's no action, no thought, no secret corner that's outside his knowledge.
It's interesting how Paul, later on, uses this very idea in Athens, talking to those Greek philosophers.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Acts 17, Paul was brilliant there. He quotes their own poets, basically saying this God he's talking about isn't distant or needy.
He's the one who gives us life and breath and all things.
Right, and in him we live and move and have our being. He was tapping into that understanding of a God who isn't confined to idols or temples, but whose presence permeates everything. He connected God's omnipresence to something they could almost grasp.
Okay, so this is huge. God is everywhere. God knows everything. How does that radical reality how does it change our lives today? Because it sounds like it could be comforting, but maybe also a bit intimidating.
It absolutely carries both sides of that coin. It really depends on your relationship with him.
How so?
Well, for someone who's unrepentant or acting falsely, like those prophets, it means no one can hide from the Lord. His omnipresence in that context is about judgment. You can't escape his notice or his justice.
So it's a reason to be authentic.
Definitely. A powerful incentive for authentic holiness, as one source puts it. Because he sees the heart, not just the outward show. He knows the secrets.
But what about for the believer, someone who's trying to follow him?
Oh, well then, it becomes one of the greatest comforts in the world, truly. It means you are never alone, never, even when you walk through the valley of the shadow of death, he's right there with you.
He's both high and holy, but also right here with us.
Exactly. Isaiah 57 says that. He's majestic and transcendent, but he's also immanent, present to revive our spirits and hearts.
So even when God feels far away, in hard times,
he's still at hand. Romans 8 makes that so clear. Nothing can separate us from his love, from his presence. Not troubles, not hardship, nothing.
That connects back to our starting point, doesn't it? Discerning truth. Knowing God is like this helps filter advice.
It does. We saw that simple but profound Children's Corner insight. How do you know whose advice to trust? See who bases it on God's enduring truth revealed in his word, and who bases it on, well, something else. Human desires, maybe?
Like those false prophets promising peace when judgment was coming.
Precisely. And that leads to the practical application. The test of truth is time. Lies eventually unravel. Jeremiah 23 says, the whirlwind of judgment will come, the truth will out.
So real authority comes from that relationship with God, not just saying you speak for him.
And because he sees everything, he provides guidance when we're confused. There was actually this interesting modern anecdote about that.
Oh, yeah.
In the World Missions material, it mentioned a group called the Way International trying to infiltrate a youth fellowship. Their teachings sounded okay on the surface, but denied core things, like Christ's deity. But because the leaders had learned discernment, partly from understanding God's unchanging nature, they could raise important questions and counter teaching that could have been really dangerous later on, especially on the mission field. God's omniscience isn't just abstract. He does guide those seeking truth.
That's a powerful example. Okay, so let's wrap this up. We've talked about God's omnipresence. He's near and far, filling everything, fully present everywhere.
And his omniscience, he knows everything. Perfectly, infinitely, simultaneously, nothing hidden.
And understanding this really changes how we filter information, how we find truth, and maybe most importantly, how we find comfort, knowing we're not alone.
Absolutely. And ultimately, our relationship with God determines if these truths feel beautiful or dreadful. That's the key.
Dreadful for his enemies.
Right, a source of coming judgment. But for those reconciled to him through Christ, it's sheer delight, it's hope, it's deep, deep comfort. It changes your whole perspective.
So here's a final thought for you, listening right now. Knowing that God is intimately aware of every single secret place in your life, and knowing that you are always, right now, standing on holy ground because he is there. What will you do differently today? How does it change things, knowing you are never truly alone and never ever out of his sight?